Joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spinauer and Theo Ash. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, presented by our good friends over at Little Caesars, where Stay Hot, they're staying ready with some hot and ready pizza for you all NFL season long. Speaking of the NFL season, we watched some NFL football today, as we do every Sunday. Some of us watched our teams win. Some of us watched our teams get our teeth kicked in.
Which one of us watched our teams win today, man?
I guess, yeah, you didn't
Nothing
watch your
to
team at
smile
all.
about this week.
Did Cincinnati win, Matt?
Nope.
Tough.
Another game where they outgain the opponent and lose badly because the red zone offense sucks. But that's
okay.
That's
So yeah,
story.
none of us watched our teams win, but at least we had Little Caesars. So you can head on over to Little Caesars, even if your team lost. Get a hot and ready pizza, and make your day
That's
at least a
right.
little bit better. That's
You
what
don't have
Not
to
have Little Caesars if your team lost. Actually,
You don't have to deprive yourself. You don't have to punish
You can
yourself.
get yourself a
and not
little
get
treat.
Little Caesars. You are not the team. The team can't. The team doesn't
The
deserve.
team can't.
But you, as a fan, you can go get it.
If anything, you might deserve it more.
That's true. Treat yourself.
Right. You know.
Right.
But before we get into the games, Matt, Theo, how are you guys doing? I know, other than like teams not being good.
that's pretty much all that there is. Really, is how good your football team is doing. And right now, I mean, oh my God, the Panthers are bad and they don't have their pick. There's no worse position to be in. I would love to know. I've been thinking about this. What's like the worst that a team has been and not had their own pick? Certainly, there's
know.
no team that's ever traded away their first pick and then gone on to be the worst team in the league the next year.
I don't think so. We've gotten a couple high picks in trades over the past couple years, though, because the Russ pick was super high, and the Rams pick that they got, or that they traded away in the Stafford deal, ended up being super high for the Lions. I think we had 2 traded picks in the top 5 last year. So,
Wow. What about one?
What about one? I don't know if one is.
I feel like I would have heard about it if it had happened, but it's happening this year. Let me tell you. Oh my God.
The Bears are going to give you a run for your money. Don't worry.
That's going to be a horrible game. Week 9, I believe.
Matt, you're on Wednesday Night Football for that game. We're previewing it on the pod because it's on Thursday.
Lord.
Just got to remind you. Start studying up.
Yeah, against my better instinct, I'll study up on the Panthers and
Oh my God.
their team.
This is going to be a disaster.
The
But
Packers lost Thursday, but I was at Colorado versus USC yesterday, and I was also at the Queens of the Stone Age concert the day before. So I've been
you had a big week.
I had a big weekend of places to be. Saw a concert, saw a big football game.
So Theo, when I went, it was a festival, so they only played like 9-10 songs, but they were all bangers. What was their set like? Because I imagine it was like an hour.
I don't know. It was
Or
some old stuff, some new stuff. Their set was a lot of their songs. I think they probably played 3 or 4 songs from their. It was. They played probably 3-4 songs from their most recent album.
That's it, really.
Their most recent album isn't that good, so they got to lean on the old stuff. I just remember,
like when they were on tour for Like Clockwork, they played every song from that album along.
Well, that's
with...
a good album.
Yeah, I mean it's my favorite Queens of the Stone Age album, but like still, you know.
Era Vulgaris is my favorite at the moment, as you can see behind me. And then the Colorado game was good as well. I got to give the Colorado crowd a lot of credit. It was a great atmosphere. They were down huge, but everybody stayed at the stadium. Everybody stayed loud. They were able to work their way back. I found myself moved by their skill position players, and I think Shedeur Sanders is a good college quarterback. I didn't quite see NFL starter when I watched Sanders, but man, like number 14 was really getting after it. They were leaning on number 5. It was all kind of an RPO, quick hitters type of offense, really dependent on broken tackles, really for both teams. And in the first half, it was USC kind of cleaning everything up and not allowing those big plays to happen. In the second half, it was a lot of hitches, taking 50 yards, 40 yards. And I don't really think Colorado changed their game plan. I think they just executed better. So maybe Deion gave a hell of a halftime speech.
When you say both were like that, do you mean with the RPOs and quick hitters?
Yeah, I mean like both offense felt the same to me. Spread to run, lots of creative option plays. Not too much straight drop back like pro style offense, I would say, or under center play action or any of that. It was a lot of no huddle spread option football on both sides. Honestly, it felt like watching a better version of the same team. Like USC and Colorado felt very similar in terms of what they wanted to do. It just felt like one had a more high powered
one
attack,
has Caleb Williams.
One has Caleb Williams. Yeah.
Right.
I always view USC as more of like we're going to run around and make a play rather than the quick hitter stuff.
It's a lot of both. There's a lot of optionality to it, and then there will also design plays that are attacking deep, like deeper down the field than any other college program because it stretches out the defense, gives Caleb room to make a play or hit something deep down the field. I didn't think Caleb had his greatest game. I talked about this on TikTok. Like, I thought the USC offense honestly could have done a better job, which is crazy because they scored 48 points and they've scored 40 like basically every week, I think. I think Caleb has like more touchdowns than incompletions. Is that the stat that I saw or something? It's something crazy.
Like that.
But anyway, enough about the NCAA probably.
Enough about the NCAA. Let's talk about NFL. The better league.
Wow.
The NFL.
Not this week. There are a lot of stinkers.
Yeah, this week it was,
especially that
rough.
second window.
No, these blowouts they don't happen in the NFL. No.
It's been a rough. The past 2 weeks have been a little bit rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, but this week might have been especially worse. As summer comes to a close and fall opens its arms to us, we get a new option of HelloFresh meals. Listen, HelloFresh makes farm fresh pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes, and they deliver them right to your doorstep. So skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Look, a crazy schedule can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut. Keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week, so there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh.
Can I say something?
Of course, Matt.
Fellas, we can't be door dashing. I know it's tempting. I know you want to just DoorDash. You're like, you know what? Just this last time. We got to get away from it. We got to be having home cooked meals, HelloFresh, save some money. I struggle with it. You got to put in the work.
You got to put in the work. Yeah, it's a little bit of work, but you don't have to go to the grocery store. You don't have to make a list.
That's true.
You don't have to pick out the ingredients. Like that's the hard stuff.
So, and that's why this is the smart play. It's still it's like a cheat code. You're still putting in the work and not door dashing, but it's as easy as you can make it.
Right. It's like having a workout plan it's like you have your own personal trainer, but for like cooking.
Exactly.
It can't get much better than that. So make sure you head on over HelloFresh.com/50StayHot. Use the code 50StayHot. That's all one word. And you can get 50% off your order plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/50StayHot. Use the code 50StayHot for 50% off plus free shipping. And get yourself some HelloFresh, man. We're going to be eating good all fall. There were a couple of good games, though. Theo, I know you got to watch a lot of Bills Dolphins. Got to see
game of the
Josh
week.
Allen complete. I don't know about that. We'll get to game of the week.
It was game of the week later. Going into the week.
Right.
Okay, yeah, going into the week.
Yeah, I shouldn't say it was actually because the Bills killed him. The Bills blew him out.
God, dude.
It felt like the Bills, everyone played like the best game of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to say. Josh Allen was pretty much perfect. Diggs was absolutely on one. Kadar Kohu couldn't run with him. Brackets didn't work. Tackling was poor on him. I mean, he was absolutely
I can think of one
earth.
play where the tackling maybe was not so good. Dude, and that's really what this game comes down to. It's like, if Allen plays like this, I don't really know what you can do. This was a totally like mind-numbing. Allen's just throwing wherever he wants. He's, running towards the line of scrimmage, but then he's also able to rip it at any time. And if a player of Allen's size and arm talent can do that, I mean, what can you possibly do, especially with the cornerback situation for Miami?
Right.
He's found a really good groove right now. It cracked me up on the broadcast because they said his self-described play style is boring now, which made me laugh. He has played basically perfect football since the week 1 debacle, though. Against the Raiders, it was kind of a get-right game. He was getting the ball out quickly, able to have a high completion percentage, avoid any turnovers. Same thing versus Washington. Same thing this week. But it's not boring. Like, he may say that it is, but I mean, the throw to Cook up the sideline, like hilarious. Just as he was about to run it out of bounds, flipping it up the field, like he's hit some really high level throws while also avoiding all the turnovers. He's playing like the MVP right now. I'd say he's playing like the best quarterback in the league since week 1. Now, once you take that into account, I don't know if he has been overall, but it's for a couple weeks now. It's been pretty good.
It's been nasty stuff. And I kind of felt like for a lot, maybe not for a lot of quarterbacks, at least for Lamar and Josh, this was sort of like, okay, we're getting into it a little bit, and now they're playing like we expected to. Because after the first couple of weeks, it's like, man, a lot of the guys who are the top guys are maybe not playing their best ball.
Right.
Yeah. I think Lamar had an amazing week 2, and then weeks 1 and 3 have been a little quieter.
Yeah, he's been a little up and down.
Yeah. And I think that the stats haven't quite always encapsulated how good he has been, because there have been a lot of injuries when they lost to the Colts. I think even this week, the stats ended up being really good, but I don't even know if they quite did it.
This is one of those classic, like, Lamar masterclass. We're getting off topic, but this is one of those Lamar masterclasses where you're like, wow, he played great. And then you go look in the stats and you're like, damn, he threw it 20 times. The passing yard numbers are not that cool. Yeah. This isn't going to look that good on the stat sheet. We'll
get into the Ravens Browns in a minute.
But the line was able to hold up. They were able to pound the ball between the tackles basically whenever they wanted. They, I think, called a great game. I think that their offensive coordinator, Dorsey, was definitely in his bag. They had this is something that Romo pointed out. They brought in that 6 offensive linemen, gotten heavy personnel, manufactured a one-on-one for Diggs. He torches the corner and scores. Overall, guys were open all day. That I think Gabe Davis ran a really nice wheel route. Like, he was able to run away from someone on that first touchdown, which was a great play call and a great catch by him. Like,
Gabe Davis praise. Rare.
Yeah, it is rare for me, but he's played well this year. And I think that this does kind of look like a different Bills team than it did last year, which is something Romo repeated over and over again. Like, the play calling was a little bit more complimentary instead of Josh Allen just do something sick and bail us out. Like, there was things getting hit in structure, which is a Dorsey thing and also an Allen thing. They were able to move the ball on the ground. Latavius Murray and James Cook had great games. The line played great. The defense played great. They played like the best team in the league today.
Yeah.
Their defensive line is very, very, very good.
Especially the defensive tackles, Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver.
Jones was just a beast, and he's been a beast all year. And
they
even
killed
without
the Raiders.
To think they'll get any sort of, and I guess we don't know with Von Miller, but to think they'll get any sort of Miller back, even as, a rotational guy, depending on, what he looks like, is just ridiculous. Their ability to get pressure, only rushing 4, has been fantastic this year. And they're not a heavy blitzing team at all, and they don't need to be. So I don't know. It's nice to see the Bills. They're still a great team. You know, there was definitely there was a lot of people low on them. And I ended up having a 6 seed. I ended up being a little low, but
yeah,
it's super strong. I just think what it comes down to for the Dolphins is the cornerback play just wasn't
the
good
offensive
enough.
line and the offensive line.
Yeah.
I would say, and I think Tyreek was playing banged up at the end. He took a knee a helmet to the knee, and I thought he was playing really badly after that happened. Releases were taking way too long. There were multiple times on the play where Tre'Davious White got hurt. That release took an hour. Tua was looking at it. There was nothing there, and then he got sacked. There was another play in the red zone on what ended up being a turnover on downs where he just stuttered his feet over like for a couple seconds, it felt like. And you got to get off the line cleanly, especially in this offense. And he just wasn't quite doing that. Maybe he felt like he needed a little bit more misdirection to make someone miss off the line. But it was a good game plan by the Bills defense. They were physical with these receivers. It did slow them down. And then the tackles killed the guards. And
I mean, once Armstead went out, it definitely got a lot rougher. That's just an injury they can't really afford. I don't think overall the Bills offense played that bad, to be completely honest with you. Though, like I thought it was mostly
Dolphins,
good.
You mean?
The Dolphins, yes.
I don't think
if they were in a position where they hadn't given up 48 points, they probably still put up 30 this game. And they're almost so good where it's like, you look at it and you say, well, you know, the expectation was like 40 points in this one, especially since it started like touchdown. You're like, okay, you know, who's going to get stopped first? And it was the Dolphins. But I mean, their running game is just nasty stuff.
A-Chain looks like Jamal Charles.
It's ridiculous because you know, teams are going to go into games expecting all this crazy motion now, and that's going to become more and more true as it goes on. But I love, you know, the McDaniel vision of like, well, if you have guys this fast, like A-Chain, it's like you can't bite on it at all. You have to know what they're doing beforehand, because even sometimes the Bills would be right and they'd get in the backfield, and it's like, well, dude, A-Chain's just going to still be able to get around the edge on you. And on top of that, A-Chain, not a, you know, smaller guy, not a weak player. I had a couple of runs where it's like, man, he's really broken some tackles here.
Yeah, he looked like the total package on the ground. Like, vision was fantastic. The speed is obviously unreal. Like, his ability to make subtle movements and make someone just kind of rock back and forth I always remember Marlon Humphrey talking about Tyreek Hill and talking about how Tyreek kind of rocks back and forth when he runs and how that makes him hard to tackle, because it always kind of looks like he's subtly cutting and changing direction. And I think it just kind of freezes you when you pursue him. And I think A-Chain has kind of got the same thing with the track speed and like just the ability to subtly cut like decisive movements, but ones that don't necessarily slow him down. They were averaged over 7 yards per carry today.
Right. It's like their run game was fantastic today.
They're only able to do it 19 times.
Right.
And one of those was with Tyreek.
I mean, part of what makes the Dolphins offense great is, you know, obviously the run game and the speed that they have in the backfield with A-Chain and Mostert. But then the other half of that is the quick stuff to Tyreek and the quick stuff to Waddle. And when you don't have any access to that, like coming into this game, what was it? Tua was only sacked one time through the first 3 games. He got sacked 4 times today. Right?
Yeah,
like
they were able to.
That crushes them.
They were able to get a solid lead and tee off on the offensive line, really, is what it came down to. For the first time, it kind of felt like Tua was under major pressure and the offensive line played to what people were worried about it on paper. You know, like they were playing to the bad level that it has been over the past several years. Before this, Tua was never under any pressure at all. Like, I think before this game, Tua had great pockets, and even early in this game, like with the motion and the play action, it can kind of neuter pass rush. But once you kind of are forced to get away from that, Eichenberg, they still can't get a snap quite down. Like every week, there seems to be Dolphin snaps that go low. And I think the key is just to be physical with these receivers. I don't think every team can do it, but if you can and you're a good defense, you should, because giving them free releases off the line, like, it just isn't it.
Yeah, you won't win those ever.
Yeah, they'll just get up to full speed and cut it across your face, and you can't flip your hips and run with them. So to make them run around you is, to me, the key. It's going to get some teams torched, but some good defenses have shown that they can do it and hold this offense to, under 30.
Right, under 30. They did have multiple drives at the end of the game where they got 50-plus yards and turned it over on downs because they were so, needy for points at that. There's two other things in this game I want to bring up. Number one, 2-point conversion that the Dolphins went for. Down 17, score. They want to go for 2 to go down 9. Do you guys like that or dislike that?
I think it's fine. I think when your offense is as good as it is, I never blame a team for going for it. Like, you've almost got this Madden type of success rate. I go for 2 in Madden all the time just because I know that I can get it. And when you're the Dolphins and you're picking up 10 yards every time you run a play, and you just are like, let's just get points on the board, make it easier for us later. I didn't hate that decision at all. I think that aggressiveness is fine.
It doesn't seem
it didn't seem to have a big effect on the game.
Well, because they didn't score again, so that killed them, I believe. It wasn't the 2-point conversion that did that. No, I don't know.
To an underthrow on that 2-point conversion.
I'd love to know what the analytics say on that, whether or not it was the right call.
I feel like the analytics always say going for it and being aggressive is the right call.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think that it is.
I don't like that. No, that's, you know what that is? That's getting too cute.
Too cute.
It's only getting
the Dolphins. The Dolphins' entire offense is like the too cute offense, but it just melts your face.
Finally caught up with them. Yes, it did.
You're Tua fan. Listen to him. Get him.
Whoa! This is. I think this is a pro Tua take. It's all on McDaniel for being too cute. It's everybody else. It's not Tua.
We need to let Tua. We need to free him.
Free him. Kick extra points.
I think we should put Tua on the Chargers and Herbert on the Dolphins.
Then maybe Tua would finally have help.
I am kind of a believer in chasing points earlier in the game than you should is wrong. I feel like every time I see that, this is, maybe a little anecdotal, but I feel like every time I see that, it comes around and bites the team in the ass, and it's like, it turns out, damn, we really should have just taken that.
I was impressed with Tony Romo doing the math in that moment. They were like, why are they doing this? And then Tony was like, well, if they're going to score again, it'll be 16 and it'll still be a 2-possession game when they score. It made sense to me. No, I don't care. I want to see, I didn't see anything on Twitter about the analytics of that.
I didn't either. And I fully expected analytics bros to come out and be like, no, it's the right call.
Yeah. I think you probably didn't see anything because they lost by 28. So
no, yeah, it never came up again. And they also didn't get it.
Whatever the analytics say, I'm for, though. Like, that's something that I totally would trust the numbers on more than my own intuition, especially when your offense is as good as it is. If you're,
I get it.
I just don't understand why they threw a fade in that moment. Like, they do all this stuff with motion.
It seems like really
widening you out, and they're like, you're such a good play caller, and you rely on statistically the worst play for that moment. Although Tyreek was like, they had an opportunity to hit it if Tua puts it out farther in front of them. I thought Tua played a decent game, though. I thought he had some nice throws that were called back, some nice throws overall, some good eye manipulation. That on that touchdown to Berrios, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
The pick wasn't
the
good,
eye
though.
Manipulation with Tua is all
It's always good.
As good as it gets.
It's
man.
always
it's
good.
Pretty nice,
especially at the beginning of the game. He was totally money.
Oh, dude, yeah, it was ridiculous. I will say though, the other thing I wanted to bring up: Raheem Mostert mossing two
that
dudes.
Was crazy.
That is seriously one of the craziest plays of the year so far for me. I did not know Mostert had that in him whatsoever.
He had a terrible game too. Tons of fumbles, didn't get anything going on the ground while everybody else was. I'll have to look at the specific plays to see if there was anything he could have done differently. I'm willing to bet that there's a chance that there wasn't. But with all the fumbles, like, it's too bad that we can't say it was a good Mostert game, because that was like, he looked like AJ Brown.
Dude, it was ridiculous, man. I couldn't believe it. I was gonna
That
say
go ahead.
I was gonna say, no hate, nobody come after me. That was a classic, like, no, yes to a throw, where it's like, dude, there's no way. He did kind of drop it in the bucket, though. I can't lie. It was a good throw.
It was a good throw.
It was a good throw.
No, you put it between the safety and the corner where the running back could have a shot at it, I guess. Yeah. When that play happened, I almost got out my phone and said the Dolphins were going undefeated and winning the Super Bowl.
Dude, I swear, yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
That was like, okay,
well, you can't beat these guys. This is stupid.
That felt like a moment where we were watching just the team of destiny and nothing could go wrong for them. But we're not.
Nope.
No.
Clearly, we're not watching the team of destiny. I don't know. The offense can still shred. So
yes, it can.
I don't know, but you're right. The secondary is tough. You know, Fangio's defense, you can scheme it up as nice as you want. If
the
Diggs is beating, if Diggs is beating the backet, you know, you're not going to win the game.
Options, man.
Right. And I thought the front seven needs to take kind of a look in the mirror after this game as well. Like, Bradley Chubb has not really made the impact that. Did he even play in this game? I feel like I did not hear his name one time.
Yes,
was he out?
I think he did.
He did play in this game.
I think so.
And it's been too frequent for him, like, being quiet each and every week on an offensive line where he should get plenty of, or a defensive line that should allow him plenty of one-on-ones. Sealer is good. Wilkins is good. You know, Jalen Phillips, he's been banged up, but, you know, he's good when he's healthy. But I can't help but feel that this front seven with David Long and those four has been a little underwhelming. But in the Chargers game, they allowed a historically good rushing performance, and the Bills were able to dig them out. That's not a
team whose forte is rushing whatsoever. I mean,
no, they have not been able to do anything close to replicating that performance since it happened. So that front seven needs to find something, because they've been getting kind of dug out, it feels like.
But it does feel like the talent is at least there somewhat for the front seven. It's not like there's nothing at all, and it's a total wash disaster, I guess.
No,
it feels like they could, you know?
Yeah, but maybe there's just more pass rushing upside than run stuffing upside. Maybe that's the answer. Like Christian Wilkins, his lateral quickness is insane. His instincts are insane. Like, his motor is insane. He makes plenty of plays, but when you run straight at him, you know, can he get moved around a little bit? I think probably. So are they a great? They just don't look like a good run stuffing team right now. So that's a good way to generate offense. It's safe, but if you can't defend the run and you can't defend the pass because your corners are bad, then you're just a bad defense.
And you will let up a lot of points, I think. And
probably,
boy, howdy, that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
That is what they did.
Something to keep an eye on. Fangio didn't solve every issue that this defense had.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. You know who else didn't solve all the issues that their defense had?
Who?
The Browns defensive coordinator.
Schwartz?
What? Yeah. Jim Schwartz.
I believe I do not blame the poor, precious Browns defense. Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
I don't entirely blame the defense. DTR played terrible.
Dude.
But, dog, Lamar had the Browns defense completely at his mercy for the most part. Outside of a handful of... Myles Garrett got back there once and got a nice sack spin move on the tackle. Outside of that, though, it was kind of just like the Lamar.
I don't know. I think you had one touchdown that came off of like starting at the 10 because of a terrible pick, and you had another touchdown that came off of starting at like the 40.
Right.
And Lamar is great, pick. You know. If you take away at least one of those interceptions, you're talking about holding him to 21. Yeah, that's a win, man.
I guess that's fine. Holding Lamar to 21 is
what it just came down to is DTR. I mean, I feel bad because I think we like him a lot, and we liked what he showed in preseason. But I don't think there's any other way to put it than he was like nervous.
Well, I don't think he was nervous. I thought he was.
Dude, I think he totally was. I think he totally was.
I think he was.
There was that one play where he just like fumbles the ball backwards.
He should be nervous.
I thought he was like he came out and like the first 3 passes he threw. I'm like this dude just wants to like chuck shit. Like he just.
But I don't think that means that he's not like. He was just kind of antsy. He was holding the ball forever.
Yeah.
And the downfield throws he had were just, I mean,
horrible.
I mean, you might as well just pick a random spot on the field and throw it there, dude. They were terrible. They were awful.
They were terrible.
There's no other way to put it. And you know, I think Watson would play better than DTR did today. It's pretty hard to play worse. I mean, he had like 36 passes for like well under 200 yards, I think, and 3 picks, although one of them was pretty late into the game, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just, this is going to be the story of the Browns this year, I think. And I think the more interesting team really is the Ravens, who kind of struggled offensively last week and at least to some extent didn't this week. Lamar, totally ridiculous. It's tough because I think you have to maintain such strong gap integrity. And that's not easy to do, man. And the Browns were getting home and he would just weasel his way out of the pocket and then still manage to throw it downfield. And I think that's one of the strongest traits that a creating quarterback can have. I think that's what separates like the good guys from the great ones is like, can you get going towards a line of scrimmage as an actual rushing threat and then still be able to rip the ball before you cross the line of scrimmage? Lamar did a great job doing that today. Yeah. And that one throw he had to Zay Flowers was, you know, oh my God, what was he, you know, how did he pull that off?
He had another one like that to Mark Andrews, like stepped up on his right side, slung it back left. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, there's no way you can defend that kind of stuff.
And, you know, if Lamar wanted to, he could back out and roll out of every pocket and be fine because he's just, you know, Lamar Jackson. But he doesn't do that. And it's a huge benefit to the Ravens. And Zay Flowers having another pretty nice game, in my opinion, is not a big surprise. He's been a really great weapon for him. And I know they want to get him the ball in short space. And that's obviously they still try to do that a little bit this game. But I think he's still a weapon down the field. You know, I know we've maybe said on here that the catch radius is small and you got to be really on point. But he's still nasty, man. He's still got a lot of juice.
He does. Yeah, the Ravens offense can really scare a lot of people. Like we talk about what the Bills kind of stepping into their own this week. The Ravens kind of seem they're starting to get on track too, even with, you know, having some injuries go on early in the year. They looked really nice against a good Browns defense. So I mean, it's hard to see.
I really think it just comes down to Lamar creating.
Yeah, he's just better than
getting pressured. I think that it was almost entirely that. Their run game I didn't feel like was that strong.
Yeah, there were a couple. Gus Edwards had a couple of nice runs where like the Browns open field tackling wasn't like normally it's really good. Like normally Grant Delpit and like Walker, they fill quickly and bring guys down. But there was occasionally like Edwards broke one for like 9 or 12. But yeah, I mean Lamar's just it's Lamar, Allen, Herbert. Those guys were all kind of on today. Herbert wasn't totally on, but like towards the end,
I didn't think Herbert played that great.
He didn't play that well, but that last throw was completely money.
I'll give him that. But yeah, I just think this is why I think Lamar's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. This game right here.
Yeah, he's just too hard to stop.
Yeah, against a defense that was number one in basically every metric coming into it. I didn't really watch this one because it seemed like it was kind of out of hand early and it was DTR and there was other things to do.
I had hope,
but,
man. I stuck it out and I just like buried my head in my hands every time DTR dropped back to
watch
throw.
through your fingers and
It's like, no.
It's a sad one.
But the Jim Schwartz versus Lamar dynamic is an interesting one to watch because obviously they'll be seeing each other a lot more in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's tough when you're rushing 4. There's going to be open gaps to run through if you're the quarterback, and Schwartz loves to stunt and run games, and that makes it even harder to maintain gap integrity against a rushing quarterback. So
yeah,
I'll have to watch the tape. Maybe it wasn't quite like.
Look, dude, it really, I think that's what it came down to. I think overall the Browns defense played well, but it's just impossible when there's plays where, and this isn't Lamar just like stepping up into the pocket or like, the Red Sea parts and he's able to just, walk forward. This is totally like I'm changing direction 4 times, heading towards the line of scrimmage and then ripping something. And he did that a couple of times. I was like, well,
what are you gonna do?
If you're gonna get explosives that way, I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
yep.
that's the thing is the Browns have not played a quarterback of that dynamic with this defense yet. Like they played Burrow and he was kind of banged up. They haven't really played like Pickett's kind of mobile, but Pickett doesn't have the pocket presence that
he's not quite Lamar.
He's not quite Lamar, no.
Right. So it's like they have not played a quarterback that can really make you look silly for lack of a better term. So
and that's the problem with having a good defense and not a great offense is like defense is largely a product of the offenses that you face and is more dependent on schedule, I think, than offenses. So when you have a great defense and that's how you're built, like I don't know if great defense wins championships anymore.
Well,
at least
it's
not as much as great offense does.
No, it's offense wins games, defense wins championships. Right now, the Browns need to worry about winning games. We can worry about winning championships after we win some damn games.
Well, yeah. All I'm saying is like the Browns need like the defense can't carry the Browns, and defense I don't think can carry any horrible offense, or you can't rely on that as your team building strategy the same way you can a good offense and maybe a poor defense. Like I feel like all the evidence is kind of in favor of the offense is the more important unit.
Yeah.
And in Cleveland, that's just not the case, even when Deshaun Watson is healthy. Now, maybe the Tennessee game was a turnaround for him, but I'm still not sold. So definitely a concerning performance.
We have a bye week next week, and then we come out and we play the Niners. That is an absolutely brutal matchup. So, I mean, if Watson can get healthy for that game, we'll see how he performs.
Right,
if not,
weeks start next week.
Yeah. And then after that game, we play the Colts, then the Seahawks, then the Cardinals. Then we get the Ravens again. And that game...
There are no freebies on that schedule. I don't hear any Bears. I don't hear any...
Broncos.
But...
yeah, I would expect Jim Schwartz to have a different game plan going into our next meeting against Baltimore. I'm curious to see how he changes things up to combat what happened today, because that can't happen again. If it happens, we will lose if that happens again. And that game's in Baltimore, so. But hey, Ravens good. They're going to win the AFC North, and they're as good as anyone in the AFC right now.
It's looking that way.
Do you want to talk about our actual game of the week? Or do you want to talk about Vikings Panthers first?
I want to talk a little bit about the Cowboys, and I want to talk about Aiden O'Connell. I want to talk about that game. I want to talk about Cowboys, Patriots a bit, and I want to talk maybe a bit about the Panthers offense and Bryce Young.
Okay. Well, let's hit Chargers Raiders real quick, and then we can flow into the Patriots game as well.
It wasn't a banner week for good rookie preseason performances
no,
with DTR
dude,
and
this was really sad shit to
O'Connell.
watch, man. And it's you know, and it's easy to be like, well, that doesn't matter, and this guy taking not on day one will be bad, but like, man, I really want to see one of these guys be okay,
right?
You know,
we all want the same thing.
It's an important reminder to not victory lap preseason performances too hard, because like Aiden O'Connell and DTR played as well as literally any individual player in the preseason. It felt like it just doesn't translate. The speed is not the same. I mean, O'Connell today took 7 sacks, fumbled
7
twice.
Sacks, 6 by Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack almost broke the sack record after looking like he didn't have it these first 3 weeks. Yeah. His pocket presence was horrible. I thought that he had some nice drives. Like there were some good ones in there where he was able to get the ball out quickly, find Devontae, like drive him down the field. They put up some points, so you got to credit him for that. But the main takeaway I had from this game, and it's kind of a big asterisk because you're playing the Chargers, is they were able to move the football a little bit better. Josh Jacobs had his best game to date. They got off to a slow start last year as well on the ground, and then picked it up at about this time. And you started to see that pick up in the ground game, I think, a little bit. So maybe that'll be something that's a little bit more reliable, and we won't see too many more negative 2-yard rushing performances from Josh Jacobs. Maybe that's like an early season fluke. And I think that's something that's good to take away from the Raiders. In the second half, the defense really tightened the screws. And I was kind of rewatching some of the new game windows because I thought all of these games were over, honestly, in the second window. So I'll have to go back and check exactly like what the Raiders defense did, because I was watching some of the noon games again.
Yeah.
But it's at least good for them to have something to hang there, like string together a couple good defensive drives, because it wasn't really happening before, and their personnel is bad. It was a huge game for Max Crosby. He played every snap. Merrick seemed to make an impact as well. Patrick Graham, his job is on the line as well, because I don't know if McDaniel survives this season, because it's looking like it's on a downward trajectory.
I don't think he does.
I don't think anybody really survives. You're right, but
I mean, how many we've talked about this? How many guys survived not making the playoffs after 2 years? Really,
I remember Matt Rule was the only one in the league who had seen back-to-back non-playoff seasons, which is just crazy.
It just doesn't happen that frequently. And when you are, you're very much on the hot seat, or you can, but you've got to be like headed in the right direction, because the Lions didn't. But I mean, it's
right.
If the Raiders go and win 4 games, 5 games this year, I don't know. I don't know how you stick with it for another season.
It just feels very. It just feels like not enough has changed with Josh McDaniels. It feels like there is this emphasis on mid quarterback play.
Yes, dude. He's got he wants guys who are going to do his thing, and he doesn't care about anything else. So he ends up with these dudes who are like O'Connell or Jimmy G. It's like, where's the creation? Where's the pocket presence? It's like, this guy, yeah, sure, maybe he likes your offense and he can run it well in some cases, but it's just, he's got to have some sort of juice outside of that, and these guys don't.
It feels like McDaniel is so confident in his own abilities that he's like,
get a guy who can run.
He's like, I don't even need.
Will be great.
I don't even need a guy who can move around and bail me out.
Right?
Like, it's like, well, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
You know what?
So,
here's something. Garoppolo still has $30 million guaranteed after this year.
Hey.
I wonder if McDaniels makes it through, just for the sake of like, we're not going to bring in a new coach on this big quarterback. We didn't sign this quarterback to this big deal just to switch coaches immediately and have a situation where,
I don't think that's enough money to save McDaniel, or really the GM, because it's like, why isn't why is he on that contract in the first place? He's hurt all the time, every single season. He's not that good when he is healthy. You take him out of the Shanahan system, and it's probably going to get even worse. Like, why would you ever be interested in Jimmy Garoppolo as your starting quarterback in the first place?
These are the questions.
Man, he's got 2 void
These
years
are the
at the end of his
questions.
contract.
Why would you be interested in Jimmy Garoppolo in the first place? This was the question that I was asking myself when they brought him in.
I just don't think they had that many options, to be completely honest with you.
They could have kept Carr around. Like, why would you leave? Why would you? And I don't think Carr is good, but like, why would you move on from
I think,
Carr?
I think their thought process
for
was
nothing.
And look, I'm not saying what they did was right, obviously, but I think they're like, well, Carr can't run my offense, so I'm not sticking with that. I'll see what I can do this offseason, and then there just really weren't that many options. I think they got kind of, or maybe McDaniels.
Where did they pick in the draft? 7th overall. Like,
yeah.
There was a trade for the first pick. There was a trade for the 3rd pick. Okay. You know, like they could have gotten one of these rookie quarterbacks, but they picked Tyree Wilson.
Man,
who
imagine if they had gotten Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, Stroud has been balling. I just thought there were plenty of other directions to go in other than Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell and
could have done, buddy.
Brian Hoyer. It just feels arrogant, and then bringing in Jacoby Myers, a New England guy, and
he almost had a really sweet catch.
Jacoby Myers is good, but it just feels like everything that McDaniels does is dependent on having known him in New England.
And this is just like the problem with a lot of these guys, these New England guys. They think like, I'm going to do it my way. I don't need guys who are going to go out here and make plays. I need guys who are going to run my system. And then it's like, you have nobody who can make plays. That's New England's problem right now.
Right.
Bill Belichick is like the only guy who's ever been right about that ever, you know?
Yeah, and they do it on the defense. Like, the New England defense has guys that I think Belichick deserves a lot of credit for finding. I don't think any non-Belichick GM could have built the defense out like it currently is. All the versatility. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all like, you talk about too cute. Everything that Bill Belichick has ever done has been too cute. Even starting Brady in the first place, I feel like not a lot. I feel like not a lot of
drafting Brady in the first place. No one wanted him.
Yeah, I mean, starting a 6th round pick and sticking with him, you know, like, maybe it wasn't too cute because they had plenty of success with it in his first year as a starter, but still, everything has kind of been outside the box with late round draft picks and guys that other teams cast aside. Like, they built a whole dynasty based on that kind of thinking, but it's hard when you don't have Tom Brady. You know, they hit on Tom Brady in a big way, and Belichick deserves credit for really everything that happened during that dynasty, because his defense was held up at the end of the bargain basically every single year. And, you know, it was his call to roll with Brady when you had Bledsoe, and he was a very highly paid quarterback at the time. But yeah, that is the problem with all these New England guys is it's just a little bit too much. It's a little bit too, it's not enough outsourcing your weaknesses. It feels like it's not enough sticking to conventional wisdom. Like, sometimes wisdom of the crowds is true, and you don't need to draft Tyquan Thornton in the 2nd round or whatever.
No,
but
you don't need to draft Cole Strange in the top 20.
You don't need to draft Cole Strange. There are a lot of people who didn't quite even have a 1st round grade on Mac Jones, who played like terrible today.
But you know what Mac Jones is going to be able to do for us? He's going to be able to run my system.
Right.
I don't need someone who can go out there and make good plays.
Stay Hot is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the best fantasy app out there for all kinds of things. We got NFL, we got WNBA, MLB, FIFA, tennis, esports. I mean, that's all the sports I can even think of. Right now, their most popular game mode is the Pick'ems. I'm looking at Giants versus Seattle right now. I'm taking the the over on Daniel Jones fantasy points. I'm taking the over on Ken Walker fantasy points. I'm taking the over on all the Seahawks fantasy points because I don't think the Giants defense is all that great. And for a limited time, you can use the code STAYHOT and they will double your first deposit up to $100. So you can put 50 in there. They'll add another 50. You have 100 in your account to bet on all kinds of things. So download the Underdog Fantasy app, use code STAYHOT, and gamble responsibly. Mac Jones, I thought he was playing okay this season as a whole. Today was
awful. Not good.
Bad.
I heard it was bad.
For
I did
no
not watch
reason.
this game, to be honest.
He just like, it's like he never ever saw like a jumping defender. Like a defender would be closing on a route and he would just throw it. And I'm like, what are we?
He got benched because he was being so careless with the football. Like Zappe came in with a full quarter to go. Yes, they were down big.
I forgot Zappe was still on the team. Didn't they also bring Corral back onto the practice squad or something?
I don't think they did. I don't think they did.
Okay.
I think it's over. I think Corral's not on a team, but
you don't mean that.
Yeah, there were Jones tried to outrun. Who was it chasing him down from the backside? Is it Dorrance Armstrong? I don't know who it was, but it was something Mac Jones certainly could not outrun.
Yeah.
Like tried to keep it, got hit from behind and fumbled, threw it across the field one time and it worked miraculously. And then tried it again later, and it got pick sixed by Deron Bland. He threw another short pass in front of Bland, and he broke on it and picked it off again later in the game.
That was the goal
super careless with the football. Super careless with the football.
They started marching after halftime, and I was like, "Oh wait, are we gonna get another 28-3?" And then he threw a pick on the goal line. Like they got to like the 1, and he threw a pick.
It was a disastrous game by Jones. I thought the Cowboys defense showed some real weaknesses last week versus Carolina, or not Carolina, versus Arizona.
Arizona.
The Cardinals. And
that's the C you were looking
I thought they looked exploitable. And on the first drive, they drove right down the field on them. But then the decision making was just so bad that it put them behind the sticks, and then they could just tee off. And that's exactly the situation Dallas wants to be in, is when you're forced to drop back and pass. And I think when Dallas is not in that situation, they are not the best defense in the league. But when they are in that situation, they might be, because they have Micah Parsons. Although Parsons was pretty banged up today, and they kept him in for almost the entire game, even though he's like limping around. It's like, dude, get him. You're up like 38-3. It's like, get him out of there.
I turned this game off at halftime. What was the final score? Oh, it was 38-3. Okay.
Yeah.
It was 28-3 when I shut it off. So didn't budge much.
Dak has done a great job. He did a really, really great job versus the Jets defense. They put up a ton of points, although the defense helped them out this week versus a really good Patriots defense, although Gonzalez got hurt. And that is killer for them because they have a really thin secondary right now. And they like to play man coverage, and it's really nice when you have a guy like Gonzalez who can move around and run with anybody. I mean, his movement skills are as special as any corner in the league. He goes down, and then what do they do immediately? Dial up a shot to CeeDee Lamb, one-on-one versus number 27, torches him for a touchdown. And from that point on, like, the Patriots defense just isn't good enough moving backwards. Like, they have the bodies to be killer in the run fits. They can just pop. Everyone can. The safeties can, the linebackers can, the defensive line can. Like, coming downhill, there is not a team better than the Patriots, I think. But you get them moving backwards.
They have a massive problem. Guess who is going to be getting significant reps at corner next week?
Shaun Wade.
This is bad.
He was getting reps before. He was getting reps before because Jack Jones and Marcus Jones have been hurt as well. It's a thin secondary right now. And again, when they can just kind of pass when they can be aggressive because it's not a close game, and they can kind of put their foot on the gas and go. The Patriots defense struggles in these situations, especially with Gonzo hurt. And just a pretty atrocious game from the Patriots. I think they're capable of playing way better if Mac Jones can play. I I think they stood a chance against the Cowboys if Mac Jones doesn't have a complete horrible,
if he doesn't have
horrible
the worst
game.
He might have had a worse game than DTR.
But they're very dependent on game script, and they weren't able to make this a mud fight. They weren't able to wrestle him down to the ground early, and that's what the Patriots need to do, and they just couldn't.
They just got knocked out. They got knocked out immediately. Yeah, they're down to Jalen Mills, Miles Bryant, and Sean Wade in the cornerback room.
Yeah, it's not good.
Jalen Mills is okay, but
it looks like, I don't know the severity of Gonzalez's injury. It looks like he messed up his shoulder pretty bad. Like he didn't want to move it at all. But a shoulder injury for a corner, you got to hope he'll be back in the next few weeks. You
would think. I'm trying to find if there are any.
There's not updates. Usually kind of those season-ending upper body injuries. Usually it's knees that you got to worry about. And it wasn't that. So hopefully he's fine in a few weeks, because he's in the defensive rookie of the year conversation for sure. But yeah, not a good game for the Patriots today, and a great game from Dallas. Way to get back on track.
Yeah, I don't see any updates on the injury right now. The last one was still 2 hours ago. He's not returning. But we talked about Patriots, talked about Chargers. I
want to talk about Bryce Young real quick. Real quick. I thought this was not quite as bad of a performance from the offense as it quite looked. They only scored 13 points. There were a lot of drives that ended in the red zone that did not produce many points. I thought that they were able to consistently move the ball down the field, pressing the easy button, like getting screens out quickly, running the football. Like, they picked up plenty of first downs, it felt like, in this game. But against a blitz-heavy team like the Vikings, without explosive plays, like, eventually they just ran into the sack.
Dude, we just have to stay on pace is all. Yeah, and how about the running on first down? Oh my God, this team cannot run the ball whatsoever. I don't know what the hell happened to them. But, Panthers fans think this, and I kind of agree. They're kind of coddling Bryce Young a little bit too much right now, in my honest
In this
opinion.
game, they were.
In this game, it was ridiculous. I mean, I'd much rather lose having Bryce go and do his thing rather than, screen run. Every first down is a run because we were so scared to get, behind. And maybe that's because we just don't trust the receivers, which
fair.
I get. But I think the offense becomes very lame. And then, I mean, Aquanu was just abysmal today. He's just completely fallen off heading into the second season. And
I don't know what
on earth happened to the run game. Their guard play has been horrible. I'll give you the screens, but I don't know. I think it's too much.
This offensive line needs to be studied. It was like pretty good last year with Icky and
they've been banged up. I guess it's been different guys, and I honestly also don't think that Bryce has been doing a particularly good job getting the ball out quickly. Now, whether or not he has options is kind of a mystery because of the broadcast angle.
Yeah,
but him running around in the pocket has just not been great. Yeah. His out of structure play has been bad so far, and maybe that's game speed adjustment. I'm not making any sort of judgment on him, Panthers fans. I'm not making any sort of judgment on him, but as it stands right now, that's what we drafted him to do, and he's not doing it.
Right.
You're right. The rushing success rate was pretty low. It felt like they were moving the sticks, leaning on it a little bit, though, and then it would just get blown up eventually. Like, were there a ton of 3 and outs in this game? I guess where
look, they picked up a good amount of first downs. I'll give you that.
That's what it felt like. It was like they could. It wasn't like they were getting the ball, going 3 and out, and punting it away immediately. Like, they'd get the ball, they'd run, it'd pick up 3 yards. They'd run, they'd pick up 3 yards. They'd run, they'd pick up the first by an inch, and then it would be the next.
the next grueling
set of downs. It would be the next set of downs. And it would be like screen for 3 yards, run for 4 yards, run for 4 yards. Okay, they barely picked up the first down. And there were a lot of sets of downs like that where like they ended up moving the chains and like they ended up picking up a decent amount of first downs. But like it was just a very, very long way to go. And eventually Flores would knock them back with sending pressure or sending a run blitz. Point.
Yeah, they picked up a good amount of first downs, but it's a lot less valuable when you're like barely getting 10 yards every time. Like that's the most they'll move. It's exactly picking up a 3rd and 1 by 1. All of that stuff.
It didn't feel like they ever picked up a first down by more than like an inch in this entire game. And
their run game was nothing short of horrible. They averaged under 3 yards a carry against a team they should not be doing that against. And without that to lean on, I don't want to be the guy. My young quarterback has no help. It's not his fault. But like, dog, I don't know. The run game was supposed to be something we could lean on, and it's not at all. I mean, dude, Miles Sanders was getting booed in this game. I don't know if you heard that or saw that. Yeah, he had 13 carries for 19 yards.
I thought he was going to be good, man. I really thought he was going to be good.
It's understandable in this Frank Reich system where he was kind of the lead back, undisputed, and you know he's coming off such a great year. And the line looked okay. I really thought he'd be better than this, Blaiden. But
dude, who's better than him? Chuba Hubbard has been good.
You're right.
Legitimately.
This is
Chuba Hubbard contact balance has gotten a lot better since he was drafted. It has. I will give him that. Now he's still not running efficiently, and God bless him. I don't believe any back born to this world could. But
Nick Chubb could, man, and he would.
I know what I see, and I see him breaking more tackles and moving forward in a pile more than used to be. Just you touch him and he goes down like a wide receiver, and it's not like that anymore. So he deserves a lot of credit. But the whole Adam Thielen last play garbage is they're just a mess right now. They really are.
There was a play where Bryce Young threw a screen to Terrace Marshall, and on the follow through, like he didn't even see the ball hit Marshall's hands. He was like on the follow through, he just walked to the sideline because he knew it wasn't going to work. Like it was actually, I should probably tweet the play. He threw it right and then just walked left and was not even paying attention as he knew that they didn't have the numbers and they got stopped. But that was kind of a telling thing, I think, body language wise. I don't think that Bryce Young has much help. I realize that Thielen had a big game with Andy Dalton. So to some extent, like there is a better offense in there somewhere, although it is very early into his career. I would say the thing I'm most concerned about with Bryce, though, is the athleticism. I just don't think he looks like a top tier NFL athlete out there. Like he can't break tackles in the backfield like Anthony Richardson can. Like he is small. He is light. His arm, I think, isn't the best. A lot of balls got completed today, but they were like wobbly and there's just not like elite zip on them. And it's just tough to, I think he looks probably like the worst athlete out of the 4 drafted at the top. And it's kind of a tough thing to overcome, I feel like, when you are that. Like he's not even in the same realm as Richardson as a physical specimen. And when you're hoping that they all can handle what they need to handle mentally, and if they can all get to that spot, it comes down to athleticism. It really does. And with Bryce, I just don't. I worry a little bit about his ceiling when I watch him move around out there. Like I just don't think he looks like there's a potential absolutely dominant player in there. Although there's certainly a much better one than what he's playing like now. Like I don't know.
I think that you expect rookie quarterbacks to struggle. But what's frustrating about it is I think what got me excited for Bryce is that his creation ability was really nice at Alabama. And it wasn't based off the fact that he was faster than everybody or that he had a bigger arm than everybody, but that he was really cerebral and he was able to do that stuff where he's going towards the line of scrimmage and still able to make a throw. And he's able to evade guys in the pocket and step up and run around. And as the play breaks down, still be able to, go and make a throw and keep his eyes downfield. And it would be one thing if he was bad and doing that stuff and it was working sometimes and not working the others. But what it looks like to me is that as it stands right now, he runs around in the pocket and any sort of, his contact balance is horrible. I mean, he's going down no matter what.
He goes down really easily.
He's not showing that ability at all through 3 games. And it should make you a little nervous, So it's still early, but
I do think the receivers do have some play in that. If you don't have guys that you trust that you can throw to, like the thing is, like Lamar, like, and obviously Lamar's like, again, top 5, maybe top 3 quarterback in the NFL. But like when he steps up to throw, he almost always has Andrews like within like a certain radius of like he's
got guys
in this realm that I can find. Like he has
BRYCE
a guy
is having trouble getting to the stepping up part.
Yeah.
He's having trouble getting up in like to the throwing part. If he was throwing it and it was just like nobody was able to get open on like sort of just a scramble drill type deal, that'd be one thing. But it just doesn't feel like that. And there's some drives he has where he's like really on the money and whatnot. But I to be completely honest, I think that's something.
I think his size is proving to be a detriment. I think that's how I would put it.
I think you can only be super excited about some of like he hasn't done anything where I'm like, wow, that's a really crazy play yet. And I think even some of the good drives he strings together are stuff that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL could. And it's only something you feel good about because like, oh, he showed flashes and he's played 3 games. So I hope that he can do that stuff more and do it super consistently. But that stuff is only going to be like super, super high level play if he's always on top of it. And the game will slow down for him at some point, hopefully. And maybe, just navigating pockets becomes better for him and he can do that. But as it stands right now, like, yeah, Richardson and Stroud both look better.
Yeah, way better. Then one nice thing about this game from him was he doesn't seem to have he seems to have the ability to access the middle of the field. Most of his completions were there today. Mm-hmm. So as short as he is, it doesn't look like his heat map will just be a deep, rich blue between the hashes, which is the case with Russ and the case with Kyler. There does seem to be something to the fact that BRYCE might be a little bit better than them in structure someday because he can find those, it seems like. And I thought that was on display today. And that's what kind of got me excited about him was sometimes he was able to hang in there and find those throws. But I do think that he kind of looked like the smallest guy out there, like he looked like the smallest and not the fastest. And it's not the biggest, that's how I like my quarterbacks. He's the
smallest and
is
he's
the
not
freaks.
The biggest.
I like the ones that are the best athletes out there at the most important position. So
yeah,
obviously the offense could be designed better. We see non-athletic quarterbacks put up huge numbers in the league right now. So it's possible, but not with this current lineup. And I do think that he's limited. But now it's time to talk about the game of the week.
The Little Caesars.
The Little Caesars game of the week. I was going to say prevented by Little Caesars. That would not be good.
No.
It wouldn't be happening at all if it was prevented by Little Caesars.
Presented by Little Caesars. And the game of the week this week was a divisional matchup in the NFC East.
Ooh.
The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. It went to overtime.
Yes, both teams came out hot and ready.
They did. Both offenses did a lot of points up on the board. Don't know as much about the defense. And that was kind of my main takeaway from this game was the performance in the trenches for Washington, especially on offense. I don't think that you can say enough good things about how the offensive line performed. Sam Howell is someone who doesn't get through his reads incredibly quickly, and that was not any different in this game, I thought. Nico, I'm sure that Nico can see the same things that we all see, where Howell is a big game hunter. He looks for that deep route to come open and hit it. And he had one throw, a really great throw early in this game to the tight end on a post route that kind of reminded me of that throw to McLaurin a couple weeks ago that was so good. And the line gave him time. The line gave him time to hang in there and find those throws. He had a couple of big plays down the field. And I've also just been really impressed with what Bieniemy brings to Washington. I think that he's done a great job, even though they got killed by the Bills last week. Outside of that, there's been some good performances, and this was a great performance against a pretty good defense. I like the sequencing. I think that there's a healthy balance of shots down the field and screens. It's not all one thing or the other where it's like, oh, they're never pressing the easy button for him, or oh, it's just all this manufactured stuff. They never let him use his arm. It's a really healthy mix of both to me when I watch this offense. And I think the route spacing is always good. They'll spread it out. A lot of 3-by-1 stuff, a concept on one side, and an X receiver running a route on the other. And they've got multiple X receivers that can run great routes. They've got a gadgety guy in Curtis Samuel who I think that they use well. And just overall, there's a lot of good, like, common sense offense being played in Washington. And when the line performs like they did today, and they haven't been all, maybe outside of the second or the last game against the Bills, like, the line hasn't been any kind of liability. And today, especially, like, after a wonderful performance against the Bucs, like, Jordan Davis was nowhere to be found. Jalen Carter, nowhere to be found. The interior gave Howell time to scan the field, time to step up. He did. And I've been impressed with the Washington offense. It hasn't been pretty the whole way through.
Howell did get sacked 5 times, but
he did get sacked 5 times. And look, he's always going to have these sack problems. Well, unless he fixes something very major. He's so slow getting through he gets caught up on reads so easily, especially ones deep down the field. I thought he did a better job than he has even getting checkdowns in this game, and he still got sacked a bunch. But he's to be a big game hunter isn't the worst thing in the world, and Bieniemy, I give a lot of credit to him. There was a lot of talk that he was a fraud, that he wouldn't do anything outside of Andy Reid's system. I think he's proving that he's a good coordinator.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And they should have gone for 2 at the end. There was a miracle touchdown, zeros on the clock. Like, Howell let them down to score after Philly looked like they put the game away. They were down 1 point and they kicked the field goal, and then the Eagles, the better team, won in overtime. It's like, you were right there. Beat them. Like, it would have been game over. They wouldn't have any shot. Zeros on the clock, like I said. Go for 2. What happened to Riverboat Ron?
That's the time.
That's like his whole. That was like his whole edge as a head coach, was like making decisions like that. Now I really don't know what he does, because he's like Bieniemy and Jack Del Rio, and he's not even like making, I think, the correct decisions on like when to give the chance of when to give the team the best chance to win.
Yeah.
On the Eagles side, or go ahead, Matt.
Even in Carolina, I feel like his riverboatness faded later
I think so too.
into his Carolina career. I mean, do you remember the famous Cam yelling at the sideline to try to get them to go for it on 4th and 1?
Yeah,
I don't. That vaguely rings a bell.
He was like, it was like 4th and 1. He was like freaking out that they weren't going for it. And he was right.
Well, he's Cam. He could have jumped over the line.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Could have. I don't know what you would have dialed up. Like, you don't have a Cam Newton on this Washington offense, and they're, I think, more built to win in space than they are to like pound it in from the 1 yard line. But still, like, think of something, dude. 2 yards to win the game, as opposed to trying to hold the Eagles offense, which had been killing them. Like, they had no answers for AJ Brown. This was a welcome to the league game for Emmanuel Forbes. And that's about all I can say about the Eagles offensive attack. This was hit the top of your drop and look for AJ Brown's game from Hurts. And AJ Brown rewarded that aggressiveness in a big way this game.
Yeah, they got on track with the downfield passing today. It's back.
Yeah, they torched him. AJ Brown.
All the superpowers they got right this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I did not catch this game. I was busy watching Panthers.
and you know what I was doing.
Yeah,
holding on.
Not a good week for us.
No, it wasn't.
Did Miami of Ohio win?
Bro, do you think I know?
Did we go winless?
We did.
The Suns lost a trade too.
Miami of Ohio beat Kent State 23-3.
That hardly counts. Okay, we still went winless.
What? You asked.
I did ask. All right, on me.
Yeah.
I want to hear before we get out, Matt, thoughts on the Drew Holiday trade.
Oh, it's interesting. You have thoughts. You go ahead.
I thought it was kind of like a redundant trade for both sides a little bit. Like, you're Portland and you bring in another guard with Brogdon. I guess he could be your sixth man again because he was almost sixth man of the year. So I suppose that makes sense. But you bring in Ayton and then you get another center. I don't know. I just thought like the positions that they addressed had already been addressed this offseason. And that's about as deep as my basketball knowledge goes. Like maybe they can scheme something up with these guys that they couldn't before. Like Rob Williams as a backup center is he's a great defender. You put him beneath the basket, like he's one of the best shot blockers in the league. So it's a completely different skill set than Ayton. So it gives you a bit more matchup versatility, I guess, which is always good for any sport. And then for the Celtics, I am going to be tuning in to watch the perimeter defense here. Perimeter defense is like a secondary. It's like a cornerback room.
That's a good way to put it.
It is because you're reading zones, you're reading switches. Like it's like a bunch at the line of scrimmage and you have to have the movement ability and the knowledge of what's coming to like get over it and work around it. And then you need the length to contest it, either the catch point or at the shot point. It's basically the same thing. And I think about if you were to build a secondary out of NBA players, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, like that's
Derek White. It's gonna be nasty.
And
stuff.
Derek White, everything's gonna be contested on the outside. And I don't know about is Porzingis a good defender? I don't know. I don't think that he is, right?
That's an interesting question. It's sometimes it's a little all over the place for them. I think that with this trade, first off, Brogdon is like his relationship with the Celtics and the injury stuff makes him less of like a guy we already had than maybe somebody who you felt like you needed to move. I mean, remember the Pacers originally, not the Pacers, the Wizards originally were going to get Brogdon. Or no, he was going to go to Memphis. I don't remember, but he was supposed to be part of that Porzingis trade, and it didn't happen because he was banged up, and they had to the transition to Smart. On top of that, it seemed like the relationship between the Celtics and Brogdon had kind of decayed somewhat. Maybe I'm off base, but I feel like I remember that. It's been a minute since I've really looked at that. So I don't necessarily see Brogdon as somebody they already had, rather than like maybe a position, a guy who you couldn't really trust to be there for one of maybe multiple reasons, not saying it's his fault. The first round picks for Holiday are whatever. The Golden State one won't be too good, you'd figure. Although it's nice to have for Portland, and then the Boston one's total wild card. Who knows how good they'll be in 2029? I have genuinely zero idea.
But you seem so sure that the Bucks would be bad.
Well, okay. Well, Boston right now, how old is Tatum going to be in 2029 versus how old is the Bucks roster going to? Like the Bucks' 19? Best four players are going to be like 40 outside of Giannis, who will be like 35. And they have no assets. So that's a little bit different.
Tatum will be 25.
Tatum will be 19.
I can't believe he's only 19.
So like they gave up serious assets to get him, but Holiday is a nasty defender. And I think if you're relying on him less to create offense, which they will be,
right,
he's going to really show out. And he's a guy who can move the ball, which you absolutely had to have. You could not lose Brogdon's ability to move the ball and his passing, because that's one of the Celtics' biggest problems. So to go out and get that and solve that and make an upgrade regardless is big. Robert Williams is a loss, but I think the game plan is Porzingis at the 5. realistically. That's what they want to do. They want to go 5 out. And I think it'll be super exciting. I mean, the starting 5 for them, if they can get healthy to the playoffs, which is a question for them because Porzingis is banged up and, Holiday is older. I think it would be good. I do. But the Robert Williams loss is definitely a real one, although he's kind of limited on offense in some ways. Overall, I think the other big concern is their depth. But that's a concern for everybody, it seems like. Whereas, like the Suns or the Bucks.
Everyone except for the Heat.
Everybody except for the Heat. And man, they really come out as losers in this situation. The Blazers cooked them. They gave guys to their 2 biggest rivals in the East. That's so funny. But here my thought that I had, and I wish I had included that in the TikTok that I made about this video, is that if the Celtics get into the season and they're like wrong about their depth, like let's say the Bucks are like wrong and they don't really have the 8 guys they need, it's buyout market or bust. If the Suns are wrong about their depth, and they've got a lot of room to be wrong, more than the Bucks, it's buyout market. Or maybe, can they even participate in the buyout market? Is it the CPA, the new second bracket?
I think the Suns might be locked into what they got.
The Suns got what they got. The Celtics trading for Holiday, giving up multiple firsts for a 33-year-old. This is probably the final iteration of this Celtics team that can really be like, hey, maybe this is the best version of this team we've had. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if they were to like lose Holiday, or like this was, they kept Brown and Tatum, but they lost Porzingis and Holiday, and maybe they'd end up trading them and getting more assets. But it kind of feels like this is the version, right? Possibly.
I feel like that is.
I don't.
Maybe it is, but in the NBA, it feels like anything can happen.
Yeah, you can always find the way, I guess. Or like with the Bucks and Suns, these are the versions of these teams. These are like the final. Definitely. Maybe not so much with the Celtics. Regardless, though, if the Celtics get to it and they're like, we love what we've got, but we just are missing a guy, they still have the ammo to go make another move. So I'm not as nervous about that for them as I am maybe some other teams. So I think I like it. I think their starting 5 is really exciting. It's really exciting. It's going to be able to do a lot. It just comes down to can the offense not be so stagnant? Can they play make? Can they move the ball around effectively? And it's nice to have Holiday. He'll help with that. But I think ultimately it's still probably going to come down a lot to Tatum and Brown doing that stuff. But we'll see. As far as the Blazers go, Williams, good return. Got a lot of firsts. Didn't get the marquee guy. They're probably still going to move Brogdon, I would guess. Or it seemed like there were reports saying that, and they could get even more. But it's good stuff from them. It's not so bad.
No, it's not so bad. There's no reason not to be very excited for the upcoming season. And the
direction of their team is very good, which is really what matters. Getting one extra first somewhere in here is not as important as the team is going in the right direction and they're going through a proper rebuild. That's what's important. The actual, like which pick swap did we get? How many seconds did we get? That doesn't matter quite as much, to be completely honest.
I think that an interesting video idea for the Trailblazers could be like, what could have been a disaster? Like, obviously you're trading away Dame. It's pretty tough to mess that up. Like you have one of the superstars. Like under what circumstance would we be saying like, man, they traded Dame and they aren't in a good position going forward? It's tough to know without the other deals on the table.
That's a good point. I think if they had taken a bogus Heat deal where they didn't get first round picks super far into the future, that wouldn't have been great. The thing about a lot of the picks that they have is that they're wild cards, but they're wild cards and they could be really good. If you were getting like the Heat, like next 2 firsts, like a 24 and a 26 or something, like, I don't know what their exact package was. I'm not going to get into that. I know it's a big topic, but I thought they did pretty good. I think they'll be interesting to watch. Good for them.
Yeah. Just had to get your thoughts on it before we got out.
Butter, do you have any thoughts before we get out?
Blaiden's got his dog.
Butter's a dog.
Butter dog.
Butter dog. Dog with the butter on him. Yeah, he just like walked to my room. So I don't know.
Shout out Butter.
Shout out Butter. Leave a comment if you are a fan of butter. But
leave a comment if you hate butter. Where are my butter haters at?
It's like your cat. Everyone's like F tier cat.
Yeah, oh, you know what? I did make a joke about that. Like, that's not something that can happen and does happen, even to sweet animals that don't deserve it.
No one would ever give butter an F tier.
I like butter. Butter's a cutie pie.
Yes.
I have to agree.
Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to another glorious episode of Stay Hot. We'll be back with a live stream, or with a couple of live streams coming up, along with, of course, a new episode later this week. But until then, we will catch you on the flippity flop.